The words that you use when you are speaking with someone has a huge impact. And I mean the exact words. You might have heard the research that 55% of your communication is nonverbal, and 38% is your tone, and that 7% is just the words. But that research is actually false. There was this funny story about this king. He had a dream, and in the dream he saw that his teeth fell off. And so he hired some dream interpreters to interpret his dream. And so, the first interpreter came in, and he heard the dream, and he said, "King, inna lillahi wa inna ilaihi raji'un. Astaghfirullah. Your dream means that, your kids are going to die, your wives are going to die, and you'll be left all alone in your kingdom." And when the king heard this, he screamed, he yelled, he hollered, and he had this interpreter imprisoned. And then he brought a second guy, and this guy heard the same dream and actually had the same interpretation. But this is what he said. He said, "King, glad tidings, good news." He said, "What's the good news?" "The good news is, King, you're going to live a long life. Your family members will pass away, your kids will pass away, but you will continue to live long life, and you will be always a king till you die." And he was so happy. He gave the interpreter presents and gifts. Both interpreters had the same exact interpretation. It's just how the words were used. Words have a huge impact. So the research with 55% body language was actually from 1967, and the researcher who were studying this concept of how much impact does your body language have and your words have, that research wasn't talking about the words you use, because in that research they basically had folks look at a picture of a woman saying maybe in 3 different pictures. And then they also had them hear when the woman would say maybe. So you could say the word maybe with a no, or maybe, I don't know. So the word maybe, you could say it with different feelings, right? So they had this woman say the word maybe with different feelings. Maybe. And then they also had them see the picture of her saying maybe. And so they found that people were able to note the correct emotion of the woman from the picture much better, based on looking at her facial, based on her eyes. People were 50% more likely to be able to see what the women were feeling. So that's how they concluded that your body language have a huge impact. But that did not really speak to the words that you use, because researchers at the University of College London, they have researched that the words that when you speak, when we hear words, as you're hearing this our short discussion here, when the words are going into your brain, the words are being separated. One of them is going to a temporal part of your brain, the left side, and it's going to the temporal left side, and the tonality is going to another side. Meaning your brain is actually calculating the feelings, and is also calculating the words, exact words they're using. Because words are powerful. Maybe you've been to an event, and the speaker right before getting up, because it's right before dinner or lunch, "I know you guys are all hungry, so I'm going to try to make my remarks brief." As soon as you heard that, I bet you, most of you are like, "Yeah, I'm kind of hungry." Because automatically the words that I use has a huge impact. Matter of fact, study shows, the no, don't smoke sign. Don't smoke. Your brain actually goes smoke, because it actually hears smoke instead. So the words you use has huge impact. As a business person, you could send your customers the email saying, "Oh, sorry, our product was bad," because somebody complained. Or you could say, "We're really concerned to hear that our product didn't perform the way it always does." See the slight difference in the words you use? It's not deceiving, but it's the result that you're trying to go after. And that's why you would find that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, when he would give the khutbah, the advice when he would give, when you're speaking with newly married couples at their weddings, in that speech, he would quote the ayat of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, "Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu attaqu Allaha wa qulu qawlan sadida Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Oh, those who believe, have the taqwa of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when you speak, speak qawlan sadidan." Words that are sadidan. And the word sadidan is very interesting. The scholars, the linguists of the Quran, they say that the word sadidan comes from the root word sin dal dal, and actually its basic form literally means a wall that has no hole, no gap. So your speech has no hole, no gap. And there's an expression in Arabic, tajdid al-shaham, which literally means, take an arrow and you hit it in the bullseye. So it's on the money. Meaning, whatever you're saying, it gets the right message. You're getting the right point across. You're getting the right feeling across. And so, because the words you use has such a huge impact, because the words you put out on the field and the listeners' field, it has an impact on how they perceive it. And so there are two areas in this regard that are important. Number one is the speed and volume of your words, and number two is the actual word choices. Okay, so as far as the speed and volume is concerned, research shows a different speed and tonality actually tastes different. Your words actually taste different. In some cultures, speakers who speaks really fast, they're considered more intelligent, and speakers who speak a little slow, they're considered not too intelligent. At the same time, also age difference. Some folks who are a little older, they prefer slower speech, because they think slower speech means more wisdom. Right? So it really depends. And so sometimes in my therapy work, when I'm working with a patient who comes in the office very anxious, I slow down. I speak even slower and softer. And you'd be surprised, just me speaking slower and softer actually paces them to calm down. It has such a huge impact. I tell parents all the time that when you're dealing with a child who is having a huge tantrum, just speak more slower and even softer. They're screaming and yelling. You become even speak lower and softer. Teachers in classes. When I do trainings for teachers administrators at schools, oftentimes you will find that there's this child in class who is trying to get your attention, who you get into a screaming match with, and I tell the teacher, actually talk really soft. And so even in the class, they're yelling, they're talking to each other, they're moving around, they're joking, and so it's so chaotic, and you feel the need to just scream. Instead, if you just talk very low, and you'll see people be like, wait, what is he saying? What is she saying? And people actually calm down, right? And then, of course, other techniques I give them, you go focus on the person that is not speaking. That is the one kid who is listening. You turn around and start talking to that person. You say, it's so amazing, John, that you're sitting down, you're listening. That's very nice. And so instead of addressing the person, hey, Michael, how come? Why are you screaming? Get down from that chair. You focus on this person, John, who is just quiet, and you shift the tension. But this is a side point. Getting back, the speed and the volume that you speak in has a huge impact. And so, if you want to calm down someone, you speak slower and softer. And if you want to excite someone, you talk a little faster, because that has a huge impact in your feelings. You could meet someone and they're really speaking really fast, like I'm doing right now, and you might feel a little excited. And someone who just speaking slow, monotone maybe, or slow but still animated, you might feel a little different. So the speed and volume has a huge impact. Number two area is the word choice itself, the word that you use. Studies have shown that even the word no, N-O, if you see it on a paper, and I increase the font, actually try this at home. Go to Microsoft Word and type the word no on the Microsoft Word, and then I want you to just increase the font. Just increase it until it takes your whole screen. When you see that overtakes the whole screen, you'll see that you actually feel a little more negative. Studies have shown that certain words has the power to actually change the gene expression inside your cells. And so, certain words like peace, right? Actually, in your gene expression, it changes what's going to be expressed. And so you actually feel different. Because, threatening words, even negative words, even if you're using in a good context, but it's negative words, they actually, kick in your amygdala. Sort of your stress, circuits of your body. And so words have a huge impact. So pick your words very carefully. Make sure the words you're using are the right words. Even at a meeting, you could use words like horrible, didn't go right, something is wrong, versus this is what we need to do, versus needs improvement, versus challenge. When you use the word, it has a huge. Now, sometimes to get the impact, you might use the negative words. For example, when I work with patients who, or in my personal development coaching, when I work with folks who have a smoke, or dealing with smoking addiction, and so to help them really get rid of smoking, I use words like, how does it feel when you let that, the smoke that enters your lung and it tears away at your lung muscles and cells, and that toxin that you're breathing in, and I use dramatic words to really make smoking distasteful. Because oftentimes you find that we use words to make it more positive. And so the words you use essentially has a huge impact, and so choose your words. Know that is this the words you want to actually use. You'll see speakers who always use will be like, the next point is really amazing, you're gonna love this. You see how they just pre-framed you? This versus, oh, I know it's gonna get kind of long. Maybe I'm gonna try to make it short now. You see, even if you're hearing me right now, all of a sudden you probably became a little bit more like, okay, maybe I should not keep the video on. I remember listening to a radio station, and they used to say, never turn it off. Their advertisement in the radio would be, never turn it off. And I heard that their marketing speech, I was like, you know what? That's a bad marketing. Because when you say things like never turn it off, you just heard the word off. And then I saw after a few months, these guys changed their marketing to always keep it on. Always keep your radio station on. And I guess somebody gave them marketing advice. But those are very important. In fact, our current, we just came out of a political campaign, and if you heard, our president-elect, words he would use, we're going to do great, we're going to do amazing, we're going to win. You might not realize it's actually very marketing techniques. And of course, he was the marketing expert. Regardless, you hate him or love him, but he was a marketing expert. And those word choices are so crucial. You hear politicians, you hear folks in the media, how they use the words. Now, it's not about you being deceiving. Whether or not you're going to be deceiving or not will depends on your intention. If you are a deceitful person, you will use this tool to deceive. If you are a genuine person that wants to really get the right words across, you'll use it for right places. I told my mom, my father, he has diabetes, and we're trying to get him to eat, sugar-free things. And for example, even simple things like hulls, when you have sore throat, and he doesn't like sugar-free hulls too much. So my mom was telling him this is good, it's sugar-free, it's good for your diabetes. And I said, whoa, that's not the best way to put that. Instead, say, hulls that has no of those nasty sugar tastes way better. You get the flavor out of the hulls when you don't have those cane sugar. Much better. See how that just changed how you feel and taste about the food itself. Your words have a huge impact. So what am I telling you? What I'm telling you is that in your conversation, one, know what the speed and volume you're speaking in, and number two, know the word that you're choosing. Because remember, the words you're going to put out, that's the words that's going to be in the field. As the words is going to be in the field, and so just know that the words you're going to put out, when you're speaking, will be in the field. So be very careful about those words, and choose your words based on what exactly the result that you want, what exactly feeling that you want out of this conversation.